Hello Biomass students. You are watching this video means you are signed up for the Introduction to Biomass Energy Course through MATC, and I appreciate you signing up. I think it's going to be a very good course. This is the third year in existence. The first year it was face-to-face, second year was online, and then this year also is obviously online as well. I just wanted to do a quick intro video to work in more media into the class. Let you know who I am and so on and so forth. I'll give you my background. I have an undergraduate degree from the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, where I got a degree in physics, chemistry, and education. And following suit with my family, I went into teaching and was a teacher in Wisconsin Dells for 1 year, the most miserable year of my life, where I decided after a trip overseas that I really wanted to do something more in the environmental field. Didn't know what it was. And I went back to get my master's at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay. Went to the 2-year program, aligned with a very good teacher up there named John Caters, and got my master's environmental science and policy master's degree, where I did a thesis on basically a biomass life cycle assessment. And we'll talk about that in weeks 4 or 5 during the class. That's kind of where I got my start in this topic. Since that time, I've owned my own company after I moved down to Madison, and where I've worked with a company for the last about 2.5 years called GDS Associates. They're out of Madison, but their main headquarters is out of Marietta, Georgia. And with that company right now, I spend a lot of time working with biomass projects, renewable projects, and more specifically with like energy efficiency in agricultural farming aspects. So I get to see a wide range of new technologies, of new ideas, and how they kind of come together. So it's allowed me to meet a lot of people, and hopefully the people I've met, the topics I know I can use to help you as well. So that's where I'm working right now. My wife and I just traveled overseas for 4 months, where we went on sabbatical from our job, and so we've been traveling all around the world. We just came back a couple weeks ago, and that's a whole nother story, but it was following a dream, and so that's where I am here today, is back at work. You're probably watching this, you're interested about what the course has to hold. Well, it's kind of what we're going to touch on is many different aspects of biomass and biofuels, and they'll cover from biomass energy, from woody crops to herbaceous crops, to anaerobic digestion, and the different types of anaerobic digestion, ethanol, whether it's be production by traditional corn or cellulosic, and then looking at biodiesel for a couple weeks. And so we really paint a lot of basic brush strokes. And so what I've realized is, in my philosophy of the course, is that if you paint overviews and everything, it's hard to ever commit it to memory and make it more usable. So I've tried to implement as much of my real life experiences in my job and what I work with into the course, so it's more problem finding, problem solving aspects, and hopefully you come out of it with a few key points and useful opportunities from the class. For example, the main project, which nobody should be sweating, but is to do a biomass assessment on a building or your home for that matter. And we'll work together on that throughout the semester to make that, accomplish that. But that is a key aspect of my job, is people will approach me and with a problem. They have a high energy bill, and I'll be very generic. They'll have a high energy bill. They're on LP or natural gas or heating oil, and they want to know what other alternatives are out there. And so what we're going to look at is, how do we explore other aspects such as biomass? How do we look at the whole food chain of bringing that from the supplier to producer? What does this cost? And when you compare it dollar for dollar, what does it work? So that's one of the class aspects that we're going to look at, or class projects we're going to look at as a whole. I try to think about you guys a lot now that I've had a couple years to do this, and myself being a student for many years, of what do you want to get out of the class? I'm assuming a lot of you have jobs already right now and want to learn a different aspect and maybe take it and try to apply it to your job. And I love that concept, and I want to work with you personally if I can, which I will be able to over the next semester, in helping you come up with ideas and plans to bring into your job. Some of you, like a lot of my students actually, are working a job and they don't really care for it right now, and they're looking for something else. I've been very successful in the past of helping people get jobs in the field. Obviously, the situation right now with the economy makes it very difficult to fall into a renewable field. But I kind of have a good feeling of what people want out in the field, so that hopefully we can learn that in class and work with those of you that are looking to transition to something new to make you successful at that. I'm going to look at some books we're going to pull from here, and you don't need to see this on the video, but this is what I use in my arsenal here of knowledge and resources. I keep a biomass book on alternative fuel systems and economics with me that we'll be using. Something a little more technical reading, which we'll go through somewhat, biomass combustion and co-firing, so we learn a little bit of the background there. A really good book that gives a great overview of many different technologies and so forth. Biorenewable resources. And I'll post these all on Blackboard so that I always just go through Amazon and purchase the books, and that's what I do. The only problem is they're very expensive. And I also kind of get into more of the philosophical and sometimes theological aspects of environment, and so I read books like this as well. This is called Loving Nature, and so kind of grab it from all different angles. I only have one magazine with me today as I record this, but this is Home Power Magazine. But you'll also find me, I read Biodiesel Magazine, which comes every month. There's a 12-month subscription for $13, and then Biomass is another magazine that I like to subscribe to. It keeps you up to speed on everything that's going on in the field, new technologies, conferences, things like that. So I try to do that. I will post a lot of information as well on the web or on the Blackboard or via email as far as like things you may want to know if you're first time to MATC when it comes to contacts. Who do I talk to when I have an issue with enrollment and so on and so forth, if that ever occurs, if there's any problems and whatnot. I'll provide that for you later. And I guess lastly is contacting me. I try to be as open to you guys as I can with every different media source that I work with, whether it be using a video web, doing a live webcam, through email, or through phone. And I will provide you with my cell phone, my work email, and all that so you can be in touch with me. So we should never have an issue, and I've never had a problem of not being responsive enough for someone, because I'm really here working for you, and I want to make sure you succeed. And I really believe that anybody can succeed at doing anything as long as they have the proper support behind them. And so that is kind of my philosophy as a teacher to you guys, and what I owe it to you. So we'll post all this on the Blackboard. We should have a good time. If you're in the area of Madison, Wisconsin, I would love to meet up with you, because that's what I'm probably better at, is more face-to-face communication than working through the informal internet. But we'll deal with that once we figure out who's in the class and where people are located. And we will see you in class.